Okay, and you should have before you a copy of the agenda. I guess, oh, it's already. And it's, our Secretary Monique has pulled it up on on the computer. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, we will accept the agenda as printed. Next, we will have the minutes of our previous meeting. And we did not have a general body meeting in November. We did have an executive committee meeting in November. We don't have those minutes. And we will briefly pull those up for you. May not capture all of it, but we will kind of move a little slowly through it so you can see it. The minutes were approved at these minutes were approved at our executive committee meeting, which was held on Wednesday past. So there were several, the reports were given by all of the officers and the committee chairs that were present for that meeting. And I just wanted to share with you the minutes from our executive committee. The executive committee meets every Wednesday prior to the general body meeting. And there were no action items that we needed to bring to the body today. I can say that I do want to say, and I've said it many times, that the committee chairs and the officers of the Anne Arundel County NAACP are very, very active and productive. And I appreciate all of the hard work that each one of them have put into this organization as we grow. Judge Barber is in the meeting, but she's not here physically. And I do want to state that Judge Barber has done a tremendous job in leading the legal redress team, as well as the editor of the newsletter. However, Judge Barber has decided that she was going to step down as chair of those two committees. But I do want to recognize all of the hard work that she's done for this organization. Every one of us, all of the committee chairs, all of the officers are volunteer. And we put in many hours to address the civil rights of Anne Arundel. And I appreciate all of the hard work, and we will continue to do that. Now on our agenda, as you know, we had our election in November, and we elected new officers, and also we elected members to the executive committee. And there are some individuals who are chairing or committees, who are committee chairs. And I would like for you all who are interested in continuing in their position to contact President-elect, which is Reverend Ricky Nelson Jones. Anyone who's interested in becoming a member of the executive committee can submit their name to Reverend Jones, and those names will be presented at the executive committee for appointment. So just send him what your interest is, what you're interested in, what committee you want to continue on, what committee you would like to be on, so that we continue the work of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. And on the agenda, as you can see, at this time, we're going to have our swearing in of new officers.
Okay.
And the swearing in of the new officers will be done by President Emeritus Gerald Stansberry. I also want to recognize one of our members who's here with us today and to say congratulations to him. And that is Scott Poirier, the clerk of the court. And we appreciate your support, Scott. You're always here with us. You attend the meetings, you do what you can to help, and we greatly appreciate you as a member of our branch.
I appreciate you. I want to say thank you. Thank you, President Lawson.
This is the slate of officers that was submitted to National. President, Reverend Ricky Nelson Jones. First Vice, Jacqueline Boone Alsop. And I will stop at that point because I have submitted my resignation as First Vice. And our First Vice and our Executive Committee has elected Stephen Waddy. Stephen Waddy will serve as our First Vice. Our Second Vice will be Antonio Downing. Our Treasurer, Ralph Thomas. Assistant Treasurer, Jennifer Roman. Secretary, Christine Richardson. And those who applied for the Executive Committee and has been elected are CJ Mushaw, Curtis Jones, Linda Davis, Mary Dodone, Neva Stansberry, Reverend Stephen Tillett, and Christine Davenport. Several of the elected officers are here with us today, and you will witness their swearing in. And many of our executive committee members are in the meeting, and our President Emeritus will swear those executive committee members in following the swearing in of the officers. So when it's time for the executive committee to be sworn in, I'd like to ask all of those members who are listed to be sure to turn on your cameras. And so I have State President Emeritus Gerald Stansberry. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Gerald Stansberry. I'd like to ask those officers that are present here today to please come forward. And if there is an executive committee member, she can be sworn in with the officers. And I think that we have two executive committee members who are. Oh, okay. So let me right here. Come around the side. You're over here in front over here. Yeah, should be president.
I tried.
Steve, you want to come around? I know. I don't want to step on her. Yeah. I don't know. Can you see her? Mhm. Let me see. Yeah.
Hello.
And Antonio is, Antonio, please, if everyone could turn their cameras off, everyone except for Antonio Downing, who is our second vice president, so that he can be sworn in with the officers. Antonio, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay,
Got my hand raised, ready.
raised and ready to go. All
Yeah.
right, that's what I'm talking about.
And sorry, Madam President, we have done it too, because many of you may not have been on the tech committee meeting, but they did vote that President Austin will be President Emeritus for the Antelope County branch. Very honorary position, and I like to say that there's only been one branch emeritus president in Maryland, and that's Enola McMillan. Okay, and so she's joined the ranks of the emeritus staff.
Thank you.
This is very important and sincere in doing this ceremony. It's the start of your struggles and your passion to be the voice of voices. It's a time where civil rights is like a spiritual thing. It's like a being in a church. It's like you're serving. That's what you're there for. You're serving. So happy to see that you have a president who also has a spiritual background. It's very necessary. There's going to be plenty of sleepless nights, and you should have them if you're doing your job, because it's constantly thinking about the conditions and what's going on with our communities. It's a very passionate thing for me. I never known anything beyond civil rights that has such significant value to our community. You hear all kinds of stories. People being discriminated against in housing, economics. You gotta take this job serious. I used to say injustices, fighting for justice never sleeps. I'm gonna get right on to the swearing in, but I want you to understand how serious the role that you're about to take. As I read off this and you join in and do your swearing in, you need to understand that it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about the people that you serve. Those who believe in Jesus understand that Jesus came to serve. So you take it on that role, and if you do it with that mindset, that love that God and Jesus had for us, you will understand how important the role that you're about to take is. NAACP is the oldest civil rights organization out there in the world, the oldest. And there's so many backs of people looking down that you're climbing on that has gone on before us. And you want them to be proud of the work and the commitment they made. So you want to make that same type of commitment, because this is a historical moment for you. A historical moment that's somewhere down the line, younger folks will be reading about you, and they're going to say, what did they do while they was here? Did they make a difference? And one thing about this job is a thankless one. But sometimes when you're walking down the street, someone will say, thank you for what you did for me. You won't even remember, if you're in the right spirit, you won't even remember what it was you did. You might even not remember that person. But it makes a difference. I've had people come up to me and say, thank you, you helped me save my job years ago. I had no idea what you're talking about. You helped my grandmother. You know, when the police came in and tore her house up looking for her grandson and didn't put it back together, and you contacted the police department, they came down and took care of it. So I just want you to know it's got to be in here. It's got to be in your heart. So as you raise your right hand, when I say the word I, you repeat your name. I,
Jacqueline, also
I,
solemnly charge to the best of my ability
solemnly swear to discharge to the best of my ability
the responsibilities of office
the responsibility of office
in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
in accordance
in accordance
with
Gordon,
the Constitution
with its Constitution
and bylaws,
and bylaws,
and the decision of its governing body.
and the decision of its governing body.
I dedicate myself.
I dedicate myself.
Repeat, I dedicate myself
I dedicate myself
unto
anew,
principles of equality
to the principles of equality
and justice
and justice
under the law.
under the law.
I shall try always.
I shall try always.
I shall try always.
I shall try
To
always
keep the goal
to keep the
of
goals
the NAACP
of the NAACP
above any purely personal,
above any purely personal,
above any purely personal
above any purely personal
or individual interests
or individual interests
that might hinder
that might hinder
the attainment
the attainment
of those goals.
of those goals.
I ask the continued help.
I ask the continued help.
I ask, pray
and pray
for the continued help
for the continued help
of Almighty God
of Almighty God
in keeping this pledge.
in keeping this pledge.
Let's go on. My prayers are with you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations, 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 dear, congratulations.
Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations, Antonio. Now at this point, would all of the elected executive committee members turn on your cameras? And Gerald. There we go.
As your first act as president, if President Emeritus, Jackie Austin have no objections,
None at all.
I will have you swear in.
The newest, our president, Reverend Ricky Nelson Jones, will now swear in the executive committee. Rev. Jones. Here, you can actually sit here, that way they can see you. And you can see them.
Trying to bring everyone up on this screen, but it looks like it's not working. There you go.
Dr. Dodoni just walked in, so we gotta include her.
Yeah. Mary, you want to come over by the table? He's swearing in the executive committee member.
Right on time.
Time is everything.
You just stand right behind there, on the side.
On this side.
Okay, all right. We ready? Can everybody hear me clearly? Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear to discharge to the best of my ability.
I solemnly swear to the best of my ability.
My ability.
Okay, we're gonna do that again because I want you to say your name, okay? Okay, I'm gonna say I, but you say your name. Ready? I solemnly swear to discharge to the best of my ability
I, Mary.
I, Linda Davis, solemnly swear to discharge to the best of my ability
the responsibilities of office in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
responsibilities of the office of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People
in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws
In
in
accordance.
accordance with the Constitution and bylaws
and the decisions of the governing bodies.
and the decisions of the governing bodies.
I dedicate myself anew
I dedicate myself anew
to its principles of equality and justice under the law.
to its
to its principles of justice and equality under the law.
I shall try always to keep the goals of the NAACP above my purely personal
I shall always try to keep the goals of the NAACP above my personal goals.
Let's do that again. I'm gonna make it short. It's a long sentence. I dedicate myself anew to its principles of equality and justice
I
I
dedicate
dedicate myself anew to its
principles
principles of justice and equality
under law.
under law.
I shall try always to keep the goals
I
I shall always try to keep the goals
of the NAACP
of the NAACP
above my purely personal or individual interests
above my purely personal or individual interests
that might hinder the attainment of those goals.
that might hinder the attainment of those goals.
I ask the continued help of Almighty God
I ask the continued help of Almighty God
in keeping this pledge.
in keeping this pledge.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now that we have our new. Now. Okay. Now I'm in the role as President Emeritus for the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. And as Gerald stated, that was voted on at the executive committee meeting, and I'm proud to serve in that position. So now we will move back to our agenda. And this will,
Excuse me, Madam President, just want to note, as of January, that's when.
okay. And I will remain president until December 31st. Come January 1st, our president-elect, who has just been sworn in, will then assume the office of president. So at this point, we're, and I'm before Claudius. We will now have reports from the officers. And on the screen, you will see the report from our first vice president, Judge Claudia Barber. Judge Barber is in the meeting, and if you would like to add to that, Judge Barber, please do so.
I need to excuse myself into a state meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
And as you can see, Judge Barber has been pretty busy as well. And Judge Barber's report is presented for information. Next, we will hear from our second vice president, Reverend Ricky Nelson Jones. And he's also criminal justice chair.
What I want to address the two main things from my report. And that is, number one, on November 28th, when I spoke on behalf of the NAACP at the public hearing on the judicial selection. This is a new group that has been convened to study judicial selection. My report is pretty detailed, so I won't go into all the details, but I will share something that struck me at the public hearing. There were quite a few judges, both from the African American community and other communities, who testified that they did not know the solution to the racial problem in the state of Maryland. And many of them also, they made claims about the difficulty of running for election, being a judge simultaneously. There was one of the things that they addressed that really I want to talk about briefly here. They also talked about that they felt threatened at times when they were running for office. And that this just seemed to be kind of unethical and inappropriate. So when I finally came up, I was the last one that they called up. And I didn't think I would be the last one, but it worked out real well because I wanted to address some of these things they were saying. And the first thing I really emphasized to them was that in the state of Maryland, we have almost 44% non-white. But in the judiciary, in all branches, we have about 33% diversity. But when you remove Baltimore City and PG County, the diversity on the bench falls below 9%. And so I was pointing out to them that the judicial selection group that you have here, studying judicial selection is really unnecessary. I said, because we know what has happened. It has been racially exclusionary and dismissive of those who have superior objective qualifications if they were not white. I said, that's what judicial selection has been in this state. As I say, so really, this is almost a waste of time. I said, we got to come up with a solution. I say, all these judges come through and say, we don't know what this, 100% of them say they don't know what the solution is. I say, every civil rights attorney knows for every wrong, there's a remedy. I say, I have the solution. I say, the solution to this racial exclusion on the bench of the state of Maryland is to have qualified non-white folk fill judicial vacancies for the next several years until we reach the diversity percentage that equals the state. I say, that's the solution. I said, concerning the difficulty you have in running for office, I said, the one thing that all these judges are not sharing is that they're being paid handsomely by the court while they're running. I say, unlike somebody like a Reverend Jones and other attorneys who are not on the bench, who have to practice law, be at a trial this week, or here next week, and we still have to run just like you and face the same challenges. I say, so we're really not getting the truth of what's going on here. I said, all those concerns about how unethical it is to run. I said, there's a solution for that as well. I said, the solution is don't be unethical while you're running. That's a simple solution. And just to make sure we follow up on that, let's get an FBI full background investigation as a condition to you running. I said, that way we can really take a stab at these unethical conduct that we see and these unethical activities. So that's what I shared with them. I don't have to tell you, there was total silence. Nobody, do you have any questions? They had questions for everybody, but nobody had a question for Reverend Jones. We have a racial exclusion problem on the bench. And I gave them a solution, and there was no commentary whatsoever. We know what the solution is. We got to have the courage to take the steps to solve this. Finally, what I want to share with you is that the Political Action Committee and the Criminal Justice Committee, we came together and came up with a resolution. And the resolution was about how to counter this racial exclusion on the bench, particularly when non-white folk have objective superior qualifications and they still excluded, not even recommended to the governor. So we have a nice resolution, a 2-page resolution. And what we're going to do, I guess the executive committee, we're going to go ahead and approve of it at the next meeting in January, and then we'll bring it back to the general body and read it to you. But it was a wonderful, wonderful resolution we came up with. But I want y'all to know that you will hear from line by line at the next meeting. But we want the executive committee to consider it first to make sure they don't have any objections to it. But we did a wonderful job working together. That's all I want to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Jones. Question?
President Wilson, I have a question about this, or I want to engage in discussion among this body, and perhaps I should be held until later in the meeting.
Regarding his report?
Yes, and combining with that the Police Accountability Board. I would like to discuss those together, the racial exclusionary.
Okay, when we get to criminal justice.
Thank
you. Okay, and Steve has been heavily involved with the police accountability.
We got a lot of time, like a set period of time for the discussion. Go from there.
Yes, I'm gonna move this meeting on, so we can have time for that discussion.
I mean, would it be like, we have like a 5-minute discussion at that time?
Okay. I will. Okay, now we'll hear from our treasurer.
Good morning, everyone. The summary.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
This is as of the end of November. Currently, the balance beginning of the month, $20,824.25. And the receipts was $52,248.62. That included monies from the Freedom Fund banquet and monies that were given to us from the bank. The bank reimbursed us about $30,000 for funds that had been misused or been taken. Got the full amount of that money back.
Yeah, we want to clarify that word. It was not misused.
It's not misused.
Right. It was, we had a hacker,
Yes.
someone hacked into our account.
Thank you. And disbursements is 28,693.23. And those were basically disbursements for the Freedom Fund banquet. And as of the end of November, in that check account, we had $44,379.64. 44,379.64.
Okay. And can you just mention that the investigation continues?
Yes, I did talk to the investigating officer, and he said it's still going up.
Okay. You've heard the report of the treasurer. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Working from memory, we lost a little over 40,000, and the bank has returned to us 30,000.
Yes, yes.
The remaining balance is, and I know investigation's ongoing. So the bank has assumed financial responsibility.
Yes.
How about the other entities involved in this?
That's the ongoing part. The legal authorities are still investigating that. So
So just about the 30, so the return 30, we lost a little bit over 40, so we talking about maybe about less than 50,000, see what I'm saying?
Right.
Thank you.
any questions from the other meeting?
And I just have one other item to bring up.
Go ahead, you can bring it up.
We have our next year's meeting agenda put together. I don't know whether each one of you have received a copy, but it can be emailed out to you. It's membership meeting beginning in January. As far as I know, we will be continuing to meet in person. Membership meetings. This includes the dates and locations. And we have got a confirmation from all the locations that we can use for the total collection. It will be emailed out to you.
All righty, you've heard the report of the treasurer. We will accept your treasurer's report pending audit, and also the locations for 2023. The secretary will send them out. And as I use the name secretary, we do have an assistant secretary. Her name is Christine Richardson. I'm sorry, Christine Richardson is the newly elected secretary. And she just joined the meeting, and Monique Brown, who's our current secretary, will continue to work with her as she transitions into her position. We've done the swearing in, so Christine will be sworn in at the January meeting by the president. Now we will hear from our secretary, Monique Brown.
Good morning, everyone. I actually do not have any action items to report this month. Most of my activities have been centered around assisting with managing the branch election and making sure that we've had everything set up with the national office, because they were the ones who facilitated the branch elections this month. So now that our elections are over, that part is complete. President also did share with you all the results of our election earlier, but other than that, I don't have any other items to report.
Thank you, Secretary Monique. And we accept your report for information, but we also like to say how thankful and grateful we are for all the hard work that you've provided to this organization. Continue to assist our new secretary, Christine Richardson, in transitioning into her position. And congratulations to you, Christine, for being elected as the secretary for the branch.
I have to say one thing, just to Monique, did an excellent job. I do know through the state that our branch was one of the one branches that did everything correctly with their election. So just wanted to give kudos because we always doing
Yeah, I don't know if you all heard Neva or not, but she was stating that she wanted to report from the state that our branch was one of the branches who did everything correctly. And because there were issues with many other branches, but the Anne Arundel County branch continues to follow policies and procedures as we move forward in Anne Arundel County. So Monique, excellent job. And I'm sure Christina, Ms. Secretary Brown, excellent job. And I'm sure Secretary Richardson will do the same come next November when it's time for our election.
Can I just say something? I want everybody to know Sister Brown has been a great help to me as this transition process is going through. I asked that the new secretary, Sister Richardson, be patient with Reverend Jones. Whenever I need something, the first place I think about Sister Brown. So be patient with me as I work through it and get her off my mind, because she's on my mind and she's always there to help me. And so I thank you, Sister Brown, for just being there to help Reverend Jones. I deeply appreciate it. Sister, I'm calling your name out in prayer. I appreciate you so much. And so just thank you very much. And Sister Richardson, be patient with Reverend Jones to be, so to speak, weed myself away from Sister Brown, but she's so wonderful. Thank you, Sister Brown. Good job.
Okay, and Christine, Secretary Richardson is on the line. I don't know if you're able to turn your camera on so that the body will see who our new secretary is and if you have any comments you'd like to make.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for electing me to the position. It's an amazing honor to be a part of the organization, and I hope to serve you all very well throughout this next year.
Okay.
I don't know how we contacted Richard.
And the secretary works very, very closely with the president, the treasurer, all of the officers. So you will be contacted by all of the elected officers. Thank you so much for accepting and being elected to this position. Okay, now we will move into committee reports. I believe, and the first committee is the on armed services. Curtis Jones, he's not, he stepped out of the room. Criminal justice, is Dr. Garrett in? Yeah, Dr. Garrett asked me. Community coordination, Sky Bailey.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I will try to be brief. The report is probably up. I can't see it right now. But there are three things that we talked about at our committee meeting that I'm concerned about. And I'd mentioned it before, but we didn't have a lot of time to discuss it. But it was the gentleman's agreement. I just can't shake it. It was talked about at the conference when Jackie and I were in Atlantic City because it's been mentioned, and I put the information there on the report. But I really they changed that term to the people's agreement at the conference. But I would really love to see that change nationwide. How we go about doing that, I really don't know. So I would need some assistance with that. Also, the second thing is the term Black Friday, which kind of gets under my skin. So I did look it up. I put the background information. Oddly enough, it was coined that way from the police. I find that ironic. But we talked about at the meeting how it'd be Value Friday sounds better. So if we could push to make that happen as an organization, I think that would just be great. And then also the term all men are created equal. If we could try to push that to be everyone is created equal, or somebody also mentioned all people are created equal. It's just that you'd be surprised how many places, even buildings, establishments that you'll go inside and they will have a reference, a quote, even something biblical that states all men, all men. And matter of fact, just last, it was either, I think I was Thursday or Friday, I was in a meeting, and it was about Black education, uplifting for our youth. It was outstanding. At the very end, they ended it with a quote that had to do with Carter G. Woodson, and it also put in there about men. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. I put in the chat, please change, moving forward, have quotes that include all people, because it's very important to our young girls. And they responded saying they would change that moving forward. So I appreciated that. So it's just something to think about, because we may not think about it. We're so used to seeing things, but we know as activists, we can't continue just to move forward just because something has always happened in the past. It's time to move forward. So, and language is so important. Our youth are seeing it. They may not say it, but they're seeing it and they're feeling it. And it's up to us to make a difference. That's all I have. And happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, and thank you for your report.
No problem.
We have a comment here.
Scott, regarding these questions, you should have a resolution drafted to be able to address your concerns. That way we can, if you want to move forward, we can do it through resolution. And then
Okay, so who could help me with that? Because I really don't know.
I can definitely help you with that. At the next community coordination committee.
Okay. All right, great. So then you said you just make sure that you invite you to our next meeting. Is that what you're saying? Our coordination committee meeting? I think you said yes. I was having no trouble.
Yes, the mass.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll make sure to send you an invitation. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to be going a little bit out of sequence with the committees, and I'm going to actually go by the contact participants list. And the next person that I will call on will be Linda Davis, who is our representative to ACT.
Great, thank you, everyone. Good morning. I just put my report in the chat that there will be an ACT countywide action team meeting on January 12th. They're going to be reviewing the bylaws. I put a link to the bylaws, a Google document there that you can look at the bylaws, and that they're going to be talking about the budget, preparing for listening campaigns, and then on you can register for that January 12th meeting, which will be on Zoom. There's the Zoom link, and on February 9th there will be a listening campaign kickoff. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much. Christine Davenport.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good morning, everyone, and congratulations to all of the officers and executive board. I'm sorry that you can't see my face this morning, but my email was hacked, and what they did, they knocked me out. I can't receive any email until I get that corrected. So my report, I'm honored to say that the membership committee is moving forward, and we're doing very well with members. And when we start the 2023, we're going to continue with our recruitment, and we're hoping that we could reach a standard 1,000 members. This year we got very close to reaching that, but did not accomplish our goal as we would like to. But 2023 is going to be a new year and going to be a victorious year, because we are claiming those 1,000 members, not the members that we have. We're talking about new members coming in, because we know that we have people out there that still have the vision of the NAACP as their priority, and we're going to get them to join us. So we're asking each member that's on the line that you would just keep in mind that for the Christmas holiday, if you're looking for gifts and you don't have a gift for your loved one or your friend, take out a membership for them. The children, our youth, and our older one, and if they're members already, encourage them to become Silver Life member, Golden Life member, and that would be appreciated by the members. We're going to have a meeting in January. We're looking at, we don't have a date yet, but if anyone on the line, if you're not a member of the membership committee, please join us because we need new members and we're going to be recruiting new members. And we're also looking for youth. Any one of our youth, we're going, one of the one of the idea we'd like having this year is to bring some of our youth on our membership because they too are important and they can encourage their mom and dad, aunt and uncle, and membership. So we're going to be recruiting young people on the membership committee. So we're asking each person to please recruit members, and we're going to come back to a program, an activity that we did have before, rewarding, when I say rewarding, of thanking of the members that recruit members for us. We already have a NAACP pin that we're going to be giving members for your recruitment. So continue to look for people to join the membership committee and encouraging them to be members. Madam President, that ends my report.
Thank you so much for your report. I did have a comment. You probably see a comment in the chat box regarding our participation in ACT. And that is an issue that we will bring up in our executive committee meeting for discussion. Thank you for stating your opposition to our participation in ACT. And that was from Steve Waddy to everyone. We do acknowledge your comment. And it will be put on the agenda, President Jones, for the executive committee and for discussion. Next, we will hear from Antonio Downing, Freedom Fund, followed by CJ Mushaw, Economic Development.
Good morning, everyone. I do not have a written report. I do have a very quick verbal report. I would like to thank everyone for supporting our Freedom Fund banquet on last month. Definitely appreciate your in-person appearance. Also, your other contributions. Most appreciative of those who were able to purchase a copy of Miss April Ryan's book. I want to definitely give a shout out to the Freedom Fund committee members in supporting us in this year's 47th annual event. It would not have been successful without the assistance of those Freedom Fund committee members, President Alsip, Monique Brown, Brother Ralph Thomas, Ms. Neva Stansberry, Ms. Reverend Marguerite Morris, and also Jen Roman. Thank you all for supporting me and bringing this event on for this year. Going into next year, we had a after action meeting in which we had some lessons learned, and hopefully we'll be able to implement those going into 2023. But again, I would like to say thank everyone for their support and looking forward to going into 2023 with the next event. Any questions?
Any questions for Chairman Antonio Downing?
Over to you, CJ. Oh, go ahead.
If there are no questions from Mr. Downey, I don't see any hands in here. Any hands, Madam Secretary?
No.
Okay. Since there are no questions at this point, we're going to proceed with the report of CJ.
Greetings all. It's a beautiful day here in Piscataway Conoy territory. Thank you so much for the opportunity to report out to this honorable branch. First thing I wanted to mention was we have an awesome Economic Empowerment Committee link tree. And I believe Jennifer Roman is actively updating all of those links with the most up-to-date county opportunities and regional opportunities for grants, jobs, school funding, all kinds of things that you can think of, babysitters, on a large scale. So please check that out. It's on our committee subpage on the NAACP Anne Arundel County branch webpage. It's pretty easy to find. In addition, our Arundel Green Book is going beautifully. It is a directory of all Black-owned, run, or led organizations and businesses. And we are at 305 listings in Anne Arundel County alone and 499 listings regionally. After I report, I'll be putting a link to that directory in the chat. Please take a look at it. If you know of a business or organization, this includes civic and church organizations that's not in there, encourage them to list their self or work with them, ask for their permission, and then you go ahead and list them. We also have a member badge that folks can add to their webpage or their storefront if they know how to print it out. One of those says Arundel Green Book Black owned, and it has a QR code that takes you to the directory itself. And another says Arundel Green Book community member with a QR code. So please spread the word. Additionally, recently, the Central Maryland Chamber of Commerce released their new relocation directory that gives all of the members in their directory's address. And it also includes some ads, and it has a new, I would say, the most beautiful ad in the directory, and that is one submitted by our branch. I'll also include a link to that new directory. And for folks who don't already know, our branch is a member of the Central Maryland Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to Joanne Bond for the graphic design work and to Shay Cook for opening up that opportunity for us and making sure we didn't miss a single detail in the production of the ad. And lastly, we have a ready to launch Anne Arundel County branch NAACP internship opportunity. We have several local colleges, universities, and high schools ready to participate. We're just awaiting a consistent and reliable intern or volunteer coordinator who will be there from the beginning of these interns' participation to the end, who can take their applications, vet them with the branch executive committee, and pair them with a committee chair that needs their support. Check in with both the committee chair they're paired with and the intern to see how their work is going, and then get a summary of their experience at the end and see how they did in comparison to what the committee chair says. And then they release that information back to their home organization, the intern's home organization. I'll have a link to the summary of what that all entails as well put into the chat. And I think that's it. Antonio or Shay or anyone else involved with the economic committee stuff, please let us know if I missed anything. Thank you all so much.
CJ, thank you for a wonderful job, dear. I do have a question for you, okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Okay, beautiful. You mentioned a resource at the beginning of your report. Could you give me the name of that resource again?
The Economic Empowerment link tree. It's simply a link tree, which is a technology that anyone or organization can use to provide a ton of different links all in one place.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Any more questions for CJ? Wonderful job, CJ.
Thank you.
Questions?
CJ, did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you, at the next meeting or before the next meeting, identify local and state legislative bills that you all would support or oppose, and send it to me, please?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. The no other questions, then we're going to proceed to Shay Cook, our representative of Central Maryland Chamber of Commerce. Shay Cook, can you hear me?
Is she on? Okay, Sister Shay Clip, you have the floor, dear.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute my phone on my phone, unmute the microphone. Yes, sir. How can I help you?
You ready?
You want to report out in the chamber?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever report
Yeah.
you have, the ACP is fine.
Okay. So we haven't, well, good morning, everybody, and happy holidays. We're in the process of moving, so I'm sorry, I'm packing and listening in at the same time, so it's crazy. But yeah, we're doing great things at the chamber. I know Christy Simon, the CEO and president, is on the line as well. If she wants to add anything. Our IDEA committee, the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, Awareness Committee, we have not met since October. But of course, I stay in constant contact with everybody because I am a part of the board and the executive committee. And we're planning on having some events next year around diversity, equity, inclusion, some more to follow on that. And I'll definitely keep everybody, involved that needs to be as we plan that next event. So that's all we have for now. Happy holidays.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cook? Any questions? If there are no questions, we'll proceed to Dr. Dodoni, Education Chair. Good morning.
Good morning. There are no action items from the Education Committee at this time. For those who are able to attend our December meeting, where we had presentations from the NAACP and from both the county school system and the community college about early childhood development and work to ensure that that's equitable, and with the participation of Pastor Palmer, Reverend Dr. Barbara Palmer. And it was a wonderful presentation. Cannot thank them enough. And we have that recorded. We'll see how to get it up on available for recall. And in February, we're going to have another presentation, this time on early child. This one's going to be specifically on early childhood development, and again involving the county schools, the community college, and the public library. Everybody will be invited to that. The announcement will be made at our January meeting.
I do have a statement I want to make. As you know, you invited me to a community event to speak to Dr. Bedell. We did talk, we've spoken since then, and we're trying to set up a luncheon. And before I meet with him, I want to reach out to you, because I'm concerned about all this racism stuff I'm hearing about in public schools, something that didn't happen with my son, but I was there. So what I want to do, I want to talk to him about that, but I want to make sure there's nothing else that the education committee want me to address with him. So before we set up that luncheon, before I meet with him, I want to reach out to you, and you can begin thinking about any questions that you consider to be very pressing that he needs to hear from me about directly as a new president. So I just want to mention that to you. So if you don't mind, something to think about that. I'm sure we're not going to meet before the holidays end. So sometime in January, he and I are trying to set up a luncheon. He gave his card to me, but I held off on that because I wanted to talk to you first to let you know I would like you to think about any concerns you have. So when I meet with him, I can bring that to his attention in addition to these reports we get in the legal redress committee. All these people complaining about all this racism against their children. I want to address that with him. I have some ideas. I just want to mention that to you, so if you don't mind thinking about that, I'll be reaching out to you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I acknowledge to everyone that I have the benefit of being a conduit because I serve on that committee. There are many members of the education committee who are actively involved. Some are in this room, others are online and have already spoken about other things. So
When is your next education meeting?
Oh, good heavens, I believe it's the first Thursday of every month.
Okay, so perhaps Reverend Jones can attend the meeting that way he will be able to speak with you as well as other members.
That's the goal, to get input
Can
from the
follow up
committee.
on whatever the issues are he needs to
We'll
discuss.
certainly will.
Were you able to announce that the superintendent will be at Glen Burnie High School for his his listening session? The next listening session will be at Glen Burnie High School, and I think it's December 20th. I'm not sure of the date, but I know the next listening session, you can go to the Anne Arundel County Public School website to get the exact date and time.
And those will continue into January, and we're certainly encouraging everybody to go to their local one.
Yeah, so, but if you, anyone who's available to go to the Glen Burnie High School one, please try to make that. I'm not sure of the date. You have to go to the website. Any other comments from the Education Committee? Okay, thank you so much. Now we will hear from the Political Action, Steve Waddy. And before you start, can I ask, is there any chairperson that is in the meeting that I have not called who's on Zoom? If so, please raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we will follow up, have you follow Mr. Waddy. Mr. Waddy. Chairman Waddy.
We didn't have a November meeting, so that's why, that's what I'm thinking about. So November, we had the November elections. Prior to the November elections, the Political Action Committee participated in several voter registration, Ralph Thomas events, and the main one that was very successful from my perspective was the rally for returning citizens that we hosted alongside Josh Hatch and several other organizations that are associated with returning citizens. From that meeting, I know it was a regional meeting, and so in Baltimore City, there were posters that popped up mentioning that if you have a felony, you can still vote. And so that greatly increased the turnout from people who are returning from incarceration. And if you're not physically in jail, then you can, or prison, then you can vote in Maryland. And so that was one of our, we also participated in a regional coalition around that as well. And it's, and I think that meeting, Ralph registered voters there. We also were able to, like I said, coordinate with other organizations. And it was the, Ralph, what would you say in terms of the voter registration for this past season?
We probably registered, I would imagine, over 200 between the high schools, between the community associations, a couple of churches we visited. I would imagine. Not to mention what Brother Steve just said about returning people who were returning from prison. We didn't even know they could vote. That was a big push. And the thing that we did was also told those who just found out to tell their friends. And I think that's what got a lot of them involved. And I had one incident, I don't know what I told you about this, but one of the young men was helping me to put up the canopy. And he asked me, what were you doing? I said, I'm setting up a voter registration. He said, well, I just came out of jail. I can't vote. I said, yes, you can.
Wow.
And I took his application. Wow. And I gave him one of my cards. I said, when you get your card, you call me. He called me. Wow. He was almost in tears. I didn't know I could do this. It's been 20 years or so. We never voted. Wow. That's only step one. Step two is you got to actually vote. He said, you know I will. And he used the profanity, but I said, hey, that's all right. You know I will.
Clap it up, clap it up.
So,
that is an example of the work that these volunteers in Anne Arundel County branch NAACP are doing.
Yes.
That's the difference that we're making
yes.
here in Anne Arundel County.
Yes.
Even if it's one person, one will bring two will bring
Yes,
10,
yes.
10 will bring 100,
Yeah.
and we will continue to move on in that direction.
And
Thank you so much, Mr. Treasurer Thomas and Chairman Waddy, for addressing those issues with the returning citizens.
thank you for leading us in that direction.
Yes,
You give us the inspiration and the leadership to move forward in helping all of us in our community. And thank you so much, President Emeritus, for that. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
continue.
Right. So the other side that we had was during election day, we had some membership, including Linda Davis, who was on the line. She participated as a poll worker. Poll workers have been under attack. So she participated as a poll worker here in Anne Arundel County in her district. Riley Turnage, who's also a member, former vice president of the branch. Riley Turnage also was an election judge at his precinct, and he, before our last November Political Action Committee meeting, I spoke with him and he mentioned, one, he was in the middle or just beginning to start the counting of votes. This was the day before they started counting the mail-in ballots, and which is probably still going on. And and
change the election.
yeah, that's something that we have to definitely add to our agenda in regards to having members of the NAACP to help support Trifina Ellis on the Board of Elections, and to make sure that she's not the only member of the NAACP that's on the Board of Elections, but we have others as well, so that we can get this mail-in ballot stuff together. But yeah, Riley Turnage mentioned that he did have some confrontation, just verbal, with individuals who were attempting to embarrass the elect poll workers at his poll in Glen Burnie. And so he was looking forward to counting the votes. I haven't spoken with him in regards to the vote counting since then, the mail-in ballot counting. So, but that's definitely been a major issue for this election. And hopefully, like I said, we can get that remedied before the 2024 election. At our November Political Action Committee meeting, Dr. Dodoni came and spoke with us about the school board elections that are coming up in 2024, so we can be prepared for that. We need to be prepared in every district with people who are on the side of the NAACP's education agenda, because this agenda is one that will buttress the school superintendent's agenda. I did attend the Old Mill listening session on Tuesday, and he was talking our language about disparities in discipline, disparities in the pay of employees. He said that it was disgraceful that there are employees in the school system who make $11, $12 an hour. And we're talking about paraprofessionals who are maybe in the classroom. So these are the types of disparities that he has at the front of his mind due to our esteemed committee chairs, Amanda and Dr. Dodoni, their work with the school board and making sure that the NAACP's agenda and the education committee is at the forefront. And so we have to be, again, working on, what did we talk about? We talked about
bringing back the memorandum of understanding, revitalizing it.
Right.
The memorandum of agreement, it is not dead, and Dr. Goodell is right there with what are the appropriate metrics?
And I
He's
think
really data driven.
And the political action committee wise, we're talking about organizing panels and making sure that we have panels of our experts on disparities, racial disparities with literacy. I think Corinne has been working a lot on literacy issues. Special education has been a major issue, and education is the driving, motivation for most African Americans in this county, next to housing. And so, I think that the education committee will definitely need more members to be able to help get work done in preparation for this 2024 election, to make sure that our agenda is widespread and that we're prepared for that. And then we also had Josh Hatch from Freedom Fighters come and speak about the issues with testimony that was given in many cases over the past 20 years by a disgraced what did he do? He was a ballistics expert. And there was a ballistics expert who was providing false educational background, and his false expertise was used in many, many cases. And it has reached the the new Supreme Court in the state of Maryland, formerly the Court of Appeals. And Josh was giving us information about those cases. And he also was explaining to us about his meeting with the state's attorney and how the state's attorney does not have a list of officers that she would not call due to their questionable veracity in court, something that the progressive state's attorneys like Marilyn Mosby have or had. Our state's attorney here in Anne Arundel County does not, and she didn't feel like it was necessary. There's a lot of different issues going on with the state's attorney that that were brought up by Josh Hatch in that meeting. It was a great meeting. In December is when we approved the resolution on judicial elections. And I just want to say that judicial elections and judicial selections is directly related to education, because becoming a lawyer starts in elementary school. And it's also related to labor, because you got to be able to afford law school. And people on the side against the NAACP in favor of eliminating elections for the circuit court are attempting to say that they have done all they can for Black people and that we've helped Black people, and this is the best that they can get. And so this is it's a very demeaning, patronizing standpoint that they're coming from, to say that we need to eliminate elections because we know better as the lawyers, the Brahmins of the state of Maryland. And so we know better, and these lowly voters, they don't know anything. They don't know who they're dealing with in the courts. They don't know. And so that's what I think Reverend Jones eloquently declared, was that the voters definitely know better. And they're the ones going before you all. And so they know when you're being biased, they recognize bias, and they can tell when you're being demeaning, when you're being disrespectful. They can tell, first of all, that there's a disparity in terms of the number of Black lawyers available. And the lack of Black lawyers is directly due to the University of Baltimore, University of Maryland, their discrimination. So we're preparing to deal with all of these in the state legislative session. So all of our committee chairs are working on providing legislation, or they may not know it yet, but they definitely need to provide some legislation to our political action committee so we can get our legislative agenda together to address our state delegation, which is one of the strongest in the state. We congratulate the delegate from District 30, Shanika Henson, who was selected as the delegate of the year for the Legislative Black Caucus. And she's also a lawyer, graduate of University of Baltimore Law School, and I believe she went to Coppin State too. And so just, you know, an Annapolis, Maryland homegrown legend. And we definitely got to keep supporting her and others. And we'll see that in our upcoming newsletter that Judge Barber is working on. And I kind of stepped in to work on as well, so that we can get our newsletter. We put out a questionnaire to some local advocates and delegates to understand their upcoming legislative agenda and their reflections on 2022. And that's going to be in our next newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that important information that you've shared with our general body. And I just wanted to make comment that we just received the ratification by the National Board, the resolutions that were passed at our national convention, and every committee was addressed. There are some resolution on racism within the under education, There's a resolution on anti-racism kindergarten through 12th grade education. There are resolutions on economic development, on criminal justice, and these resolutions can be found on the national website. I will share this booklet with our president-elect, Reverend Jones, who will also share it with our political action, other committees, so that the committee chairs are aware of the national resolutions that have been written, submitted, and ratified. And with that, I would now move to a, I guess, three to 4 minute conversation on police accountability, which was a question that came up early in the meeting. Dr. Dodoni.
Thank you. For both police, especially the Police Accountability Board, but also considering judicial nominating committees. I know that this branch and others have gone as far as we can with rational legal arguments and nothing has happened. If I think the sequence of steps that the NAACP can take to affect change, at the end of that is legal action, lawsuits. And I want to introduce the possibility that either the branch, well, it has to be the branch level because it's our Police Accountability Board. This branch consider at least investigating and perhaps bringing a lawsuit against the way the Police Accountability Board is structured in Arundel County.
What is that?
Because I don't see any other way to move forward, and you've repeatedly told me, and I believe it's true, that this is not consistent with the law.
What do you, I mean, what is it that you see as being inconsistent? What's the motivation? That's what
The motivation is that I have watched you struggle, work, and you tell me, and I believe it's true, that we are not consistent with requirements of the implementing portions of the law. And I don't see another way forward. And the last tool we have as a branch is a lawsuit.
And what was you want me to respond to that?
Well, actually, with that recommendation, that would be a topic that we will bring to the executive committee for further discussion of the possibilities, and if we have rationale to move forward on such a recommendation.
Can I just?
But you can absolutely respond to. Absolutely, you can respond to it.
Do you want to? Well, the only thing I want to say is that, as a practice attorney, presently, I have sued the state of Maryland behind this racial exclusion on the bench. When I went to the highest court of the state of Maryland, then I went to the United States Supreme Court, with the statistics showing a clear and disputable racial exclusion. The state courts and the federal court did not want to deal with it. And what I say did not want to deal with it is the whole brief was about the racial discrimination by the Judicial Nominating Committee. They looked at the law and said, well, judges who get to office by election or by appointment, they immune from Title VII. But the whole brief didn't have anything to do with Title VII. It was about the preliminary process, who they recommend to the government Judicial Nominating Commission. And they would not deal with that at all. They were silent on what the whole brief was all about. You know what that means? They had no stomach to change. So as far as the racial exclusion on the bench in the state of Maryland is concerned, I've already traveled all the way there. I've come back down and communicated with some other attorneys, even this branch, about let's go forward with a class action lawsuit. I can't find anybody with the courage to stand with Reverend Jones. I can't do a class action lawsuit for myself. I gotta get all these black attorneys who've been excluded to come with me to file a class action lawsuit. That's a courage thing, because they don't want to be blackballed, not understand you're already blackballed. They keep you off the bench. And so now, as far as the branch dealing with the political action committee, then I'm gonna take back seat, because I know Mr. White has been intimately involved in that. And if it's the type of racial exclusion that's on the bench, then we have to consider the cost. Because as far as lawsuits are concerned, Reverend Jones on tiptoe anticipation sue anybody who's doing wrong. But I know, as a president of an organization, I can't make those personal decisions like I do my private practice. So I will concede to Mr. White talking about the racial percentage on the political, police accountability board, and then based on that we go from there.
Thank you. I would say if we're looking at the issue of the Police Accountability Board's law, the law, from my perspective, the law is consistent with the state law. The issue in regards to, but that's from my perspective. The state law is very vague. The state law is wide open. This was an opportunity to craft something that was effective, that was not done, that was avoided, that was left. But they could have done some more work, but they decided, the county council, our county council and our county executive decided to do what would make the Fraternal Order of Police happy. And that's because the Fraternal Order of Police donated to every one of their campaigns thousands of dollars. The county executive has taken, they had a rally outside of the county executive's, outside the FOP office. They had the county executive and the FOP. So the Fraternal Order of Police, every amendment that Sarah Lacy offered, who the only one that did not take FOP money is Sarah Lacy. She has sued police departments. She's no longer on the county council. She's the only one who was willing to offer amendments that would make the bill stronger for the community. And so every one of her amendments, she had to vet through the Fraternal Order of Police as well, because that's how her other colleagues on the county council will be voting. They would be voting for banning police officers, banning the family members of active law enforcement members from being on the police accountability. They voted against that. The family members of active police officers can be on the Police Accountability Board. So retired law enforcement officers can be on it because the Fraternal Order of Police wanted to have their thumb on the scale. And the chief of staff to our current police chief is the lobbyist for the Sheriff's Association for the state of Maryland. So he's a very actively vocal supporter of the issues that the police are most passionate about. So,
and we fought against that. We fought about the police officers off the police accountability. We fought hard against that.
Exactly.
And he still got on.
And then there aren't any because the county executive has the power to make those. This county executive made a decision to put people who are employees of the county on the Police Accountability Board, where they didn't. The other counties have banned county employees from being on the Police Accountability Board. Right now, we have people from the health department, not the health department, but Anne Arundel County, the public schools, and the hospital, and the Anne Arundel County Hospital. GWB, whatever.
Was it Jeanette Ortiz or?
The chief lobbyist for, Jeanette Ortiz is chief lobbyist for the school board. She's
left.
She's left the school system. Oh, okay, well.
But you're right, she
Yes.
was when she was appointed.
Right.
I believe it was Jeanette. who was
And
appointed.
all I'm saying is that the decision-making around the Police Accountability Board was wide open. And because the law was so vague, and that's why they're able to kind of skirt what you may see as being disparities. What may be disparities that we would consider illegal, unconstitutional, are kind of allowed because the law does not speak to the constitutionality of these types of disparities in civilian review boards and police accountability boards, and so that but the main piece is that we cannot ignore is that the state's attorney is the one who charges and tries police officers who commit acts of police brutality, acts of excessive force. And no state's attorney in the state of Maryland has charged any officer for the 28 killings that have happened this year in the state of Maryland. We've had several. I know two that I can think of in the state, in Anne Arundel County, that happened this year. With Deontay Quarles and the young man in Harwood, I can't remember his name on top of my head, that were killed by police. And the state's attorney has decided not to charge. And so the state's attorney is the one who I think, if we're looking for some type of remedy, is who we have to kind of address in regards to how we might legally be able to hold the state's attorney accountable with her lack of charging. And this is, so that's that. There was also a case in Annapolis where a man was killed while in police custody, and his family is suing the city of Annapolis. So that's the other side of another case that the state's attorney will be responsible for, which she has failed to take into account. So that's the structurally, those are the kinds of things that I would think about in terms of addressing legally from a branch standpoint, how to move forward. Legislatively, I have a better idea. I have a better understanding. Legislatively, that's why I defer to the attorneys in this chapter to address.
And to jump in here,
Yeah.
in short, it's a very complicated process. The law don't specifically exclude things. The state has freedom, and the police companies have freedom, and the county executive has freedom to kind of do it the way they want to do it, unless the law explicitly says no to this, to police officers being on police company, which it did, but didn't say no as far as the ex officio or section of it is concerned. So with that, with them not excluding that, then they can put them on. So it's really the law. It's really the solution really is legislative. And we can get these legislators in the Senate and the House of Delegates to understand the wisdom of making sure we keep diversity. This state is diverse. 44% people are non-white. What's with all this exclusion? So it's legislative to be more effective. Because even legally, until we spend money, there's no guarantee. But legislatively, all these people who be supported to get in back in the House of Delegates, we gotta talk to them. Hey, we gonna get this law in place, make the courts diverse. And I've been talking to them. Reverend Jones, we can't get the support. I said, so still do it. They got many bills they put in there and get support until 5 years later, then all of a sudden they pass it.
Yes.
I said, put it in. I'm trying to get them to put it in.
3 to 5 years before a bill usually fails 2 to 3 to 4 times before it's passed.
Not when we're talking about police reform though. Police reform is a 40-year, 50, 100-year program.
Let's not miss
Yeah.
a year.
So I agree, but police reform is the cause of riots. Police brutality, systemic discrimination is the cause. It's constant. It's ignored to the point that they will allow civil unrest to happen before a law gets changed. They will allow the constant genocidal death and killing of Black people before work is done. And it's done in a sense of order between whites. It's how do we as two, as the moderate white liberal and the conservative white nationalist, how do we have a relationship that is not filled with tension? And the only tension is between African Americans and the white moderate liberal. You see what I'm saying? And the white nationalists will totally ignore what the tension is, whereas the white moderate liberal must now be the source of change. And so that's structurally and ideologically how this debate goes until there is a mass uprising of civil unrest, because legislatively it is 100-year progress. It's a process, 40 and bodies piling up before things change. And that's really what it is, that when we're talking about putting in a bill every year or even having a election, it's not enough. It's not enough for us to feel like legislatively things are going to change. To me, it's about the schools. One is about families. It's about families raising their children to be white supremacists. And then second, it's about the courts. So it's schools. It's about the media and it's about the courts. And the courts are the ones that are maintaining the violence that keeps Black people from being able to oppose laws in a way that is effective. Black people want to oppose laws non-violently. However, the courts allow violence to occur to Black people. And under the terms of immunity, we have, what's the statutory immunity?
Yeah, you're talking about police officers, even when you prove that they unreasonable in committing some type of brutality, they still are immune. They still consider, you gotta prove both that they have no intention. In other words, with an intention, you gotta, there's a second prong you gotta pass. So even if they clearly are guilty of brutality, they have a certain immunity in the state. And then you gotta also prove that there was some type of intention. You know how hard that is as a law.
Right.
So I will observe what's happened here.
Right.
This has not gone away. It raises passions among our most informed members of the branch. We took a large hit with what came out of the county executive's office and what the county council a while. I'm looking for a way to keep us moving on this. It is an unacceptable outcome. It's clearly unacceptable that it remains intransigent. I apologize for taking the time of this body. I will look forward to going back to committee and to the executive committee. I'm saying we need to keep moving on this one. I know you have more than one wife, but I can speak for one.
Legislatively, legally, we do everything.
And it's obvious that these two issues, the judiciary system issue, the police accountability issue, is something that the branch will continue to address as we move forward. I don't think they're gonna let it go. There's too much passion here.
There's a police accountability board meeting on the 19th that they'll be issuing a report. And so they have an end of year report that they have to issue. And we've been working with the countywide coalition to create a shadow report of what we've learned so far from the police departments. We learned more from the police accountability board meetings about the complaint process for the sheriff's department, for Crofton Police Department, than we ever learned from years of county council meetings. You know, the county council does not ask questions about the complaint process. They didn't even know whether or not the police chief for Anne Arundel County had any trials last year. They had for the police trial board. They couldn't, this is how bought they are. They've been bought, and the police accountability board is a method of independent questioning of the police and the sheriff's office that has revealed quite a bit of information. So I'm not totally, like, that's what I said. So I don't totally, some people oppose the police accountability board process in and of itself. I believe it's a great start. I think we need to have truth and reconciliation commissions. We need to have, they need to have the prosecutorial power and take it away from state's attorneys. You know, they need to have the prosecutorial power to charge these, not just administrative charges, but criminal charges against police officers. And police misconduct is defined as systemic, and it's misconduct that is law enforcement agency wide. It doesn't just address police misconduct from individual officers, which is how this police accountability board structure is trying to go. Whereas we're trying to address it from a systemic standpoint in regards to driving while Black, you know, walking while Black, learning while Black, except being mentally ill while Black, you know, so all of those things we're trying to address from a systemic level, but the police are trying to focus, and law enforcement agencies are trying to focus on individual acts of police brutality and the intent around it, not the system-wide impact of police brutality and systemic discrimination on Black and brown and white communities. You know, so that's like how we're trying to move forward.
And that has been, this discussion has been very, very fruitful discussion. And as you asked me earlier to allow 5 minutes, we've allowed, I think it's been almost 15 minutes now. So we can learn more because I thought I heard you say that there is a police accountability board meeting on the 19th. Is that via Zoom?
Yes, there's Zoom.
If you could put that information in the chat for those members of the body who would like to attend that meeting so they can hear for themselves, as well as all of us to attend that meeting so we can hear what's being said. Because you said they were going to be giving a report.
Yes, they're required under law to provide an end of year report.
End of year report. And that way we can hear what they've done all year.
And that end of year report will be filed with the county and in the county libraries. So you can go to your library, your local library, and that report is also going to be filed there.
Be available there.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say, President, also, this is the overall thrust is no matter how many boards or commissions or legislators we get, the point is we have to address each other. You know, our community is we have to look at each other and get each other together. And that's you know, outside on a private level, not on the public level, not just on the public level, but at the private, individual, you know, person to person, family to family, community to community. That's where we've been failing, is that people are so focused on their own individual like survival that we've been misdirected. We've been led astray. We've been running up. You know.
One encouraging word for you, Dr. Maloney. The Police Accountability Act of 2021 that was passed, that was a help. So it's not like nothing has happened. So it was a help. We still got a lot to do. That's all.
I can't thank you enough. Know that people showing up, if it's possible, and NAACP t-shirts, you know, white moderates, retired women showing up in courts has led to judges being more reasonable in their sentences. As do I. And thank you for the clarifications, for the passion.
We have one question in the meeting. Linda Davis.
Yes, hi, just wanted to, I put the information about the 12/19 PAB meeting in the chat, and also the PAB at their last meeting said they're going to have listening sessions, town halls, so they can listen to the community. And they're going to have 4 of them in each of the police districts of the county. So we should all show up to those, and those are going to be on the dates they hold the meetings, which is usually the 4th Monday of the month. So we'll put that out so people can show up to these meetings, because they've acknowledged they have not been listening to the public, and they've been really listening to the police more than the public.
And
Thank you.
Great idea. All of us who attend those meetings to wear our NAACP shirts, so they know that we are in the house and that we are.
Ralph has some more shirts.
Yeah, and just see Mr. Thomas, Treasurer Thomas. If you don't have an NAACP shirt, see Treasurer Thomas. And with that, I'd like to ask if there are any announcements or any further business of the organization that we need to put on the table. Yeah, okay. Scott?
Well, just a quick announcement that the clerk's office is still hiring. Whenever we have a job opening, we're automatically, we don't have them all that often, but when we do, we send them. And will that email that we're sending it to be changing?
Just send it to president at Anne Arundel County NAACP, and it'll go to the president.
We'll keep doing that. We've got a few openings that we'll be hiring for, so we'll be sending, we'll continue to send them.
Thank
you.
you.
Can advertise and encourage people to apply, we'd appreciate it. And also that website that I'm sending out, that covers jobs in the judiciary throughout the state of Maryland. So if people are interested, when we send it for our job, my office, but there's many more in there that are advertised. So I would encourage anybody that if they want to apply, please apply.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. And we always ask to post that on our social media so that people are aware that the jobs are available. Neva, did you have comments you wanted to make?
Yeah, he was saying about finding CA report, we met, we made a good job.
Anybody else? In-house, anybody else on any hands up? Seeing none. All righty, I think this has been a great meeting and congratulations again to all of the new elected officers. And we will have Reverend Ricky Nelson Jones to dismiss us.
Okay, the benediction. Now to him who's able to keep you from falling and present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise God our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. Let's respond, amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you. Amen.
Thank you all for attending this meeting. Greatly appreciated as always, and look forward to seeing you in January.
And President Olson, our leader, will actually. Thank you, President Olson. Thank you for everything you've done.